Hey, do you guys ever get the "can you send me more information" objection in sales or closing? In today's video, I actually assemble my team and we just talk about the different ways we handle this type of objection. On this call, we have Jasmine, she's an engineer, but she's also a closer. We have Tom, who was a consultant for so many years. He worked at all the biggest companies and has built massive teams. We have Tao. She is an MBA. She just finished her MBA. We have David, a trader, and me. I was a former pharmacist, but we are all closing on this team. As you can tell, we have a high caliber team, and we just give our thoughts about how we actually handle "just send me more information" and why people really ask it, right? Later in this podcast type of format, we talk about whether MBA is worth it. I don't know how it shifted over to that, but if you're interested in MBA, make sure to check out later in the podcast. And then to finish up this podcast, we actually talk about what it's like being on a team and why it's important to be on a team rather than just lone wolfing everything. I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast. I really loved it. Just watching it just now, I was just hooked. So lucky I have a great team. So lucky to have you guys here. If you guys like these videos, watch the whole playlist and we'll just go from there. All right, take care. Peace.
So what I was thinking was that like I could either go through a sales call or we could just do a roundtable to kind of talk, kind of like The View or like a talk show type of thing, where we just like kind of just converse like we're normally doing already, but like with an objection and like how we would handle it, right? So I have a whole list of like 40 different objections. So I just thought we just cover one and just get your thoughts. How's that sound, guys?
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool. So, um, let me ask you guys. Let me find a good one. So let me ask you guys, how do you handle a situation when somebody's like, just send me some information? What are your thoughts, guys? Has that got, well, let me ask you, like, has that ever happened to you so far, like out of all our closing calls and all that?
Yes.
No.
No one's ever asked you send me some more information.
Nope. Never.
Why do you think that is?
Because like they got the information, right? And if they ask for more information, it's just an objection of not making the decision, I guess.
What about you, Jasmine? You're about to say something.
I believe I got a question similar to that, like sending testimonial or something, just sending the link maybe. The first thought, like what I immediately think when someone asks that,
Yeah,
I just go to what kind of information are you looking for? That's my go-to. Like that's the first thing that I think of.
yeah. Like one of the things that I think too that like could definitely prevent this question is like having a very strong pre-frame. So if like anyone goes through Dan Henry's like funnel or even like Dan Locke's funnel and stuff, they have very strong pre-framing, making sure that you know all the information up front before even going on the call. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
You know, that made me realize before when I had, this is like a while back, when my frames were weaker, like I noticed that I get, once they start asking or saying objections, like my responses would be stronger. It's like I turned from like maybe Pearl, Emerald to Ruby. I'm like, okay, what information are you looking for? Like my tone changes. I come like I become like more demanding. Like I don't know. I feel like it's like a congruency issue that I have.
Do you ever feel like you get more frustrated or anything like that when
I
people
think,
ask?
yeah, that's it. Like I get frustrated, I get defensive, like, oh what thinking back to those calls. Yeah.
Mm.
But I'm working on that.
Well, let me ask you guys, like, why do you think people are even asking that question? If that objection comes up, why do you think they're asking that? And let's assume there's like there's really good framing as well, like meaning like, hey, the webinar or the video that they watched before explains all that stuff. They actually should know if they went through the funnel. Why do you think they're asking that?
I think it's just lower self issues. They don't, maybe they don't trust. I don't think it's them. It's depending on the marketing of what it is. Like for HCC, for example, marketing is really good. There are a lot of testimonials. So usually it comes down to like their self-doubts and self-imposed limitations.
How about you, Tom? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, for me, my thoughts is that I always try, because we already know, and I always try to anticipate. I do try to do everything up front and navigate the conversation.
Yeah. I think like one important thing for like objections, like just send me some more information. It's either like one of two things in my head, right? Because some, like, it's not that often that I really get that. More with like more emerald type of people, but I would say in general, it's like they want to get out of the conversation, or I didn't paint the dream well enough ahead. I didn't make the offer and like clarity, like the offer and what they're gonna get, and how it relates to their dreams. I didn't make that clear enough.
Yep.
So like
Uh,
sometimes like I'll go like what Jasmine says, like, so what kind of information are you looking for exactly, right? And then go that route and just kind of throw it back on them. But the other route I go, depending on their tone, sometimes I'll go like, hey, usually when people say this, it usually means that they're not interested in this program. This isn't the case now, is it? Right? So I use that one a lot too, just to kind of clear the air too. Just letting them know that it's okay to say no to me, you know? So
But what if this is gonna be the situation where you have to talk to an influencer and they want more information from you? Like, how long have you been in this have been doing this, and what is your results, right? What's some of your achievements or anything like that? Then how are we going to handle that?
So if I gave you my achievements or my results, what exactly would that help you figure out? Right.
Then
Like,
they probably respond back with credentials, Kevin, because I look at influencers as B2B to some degree.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with proposals. At least with clients, we always try to position ourselves. Again, this is not closing. This is something that I did in the past where you give them that information, but then instead of trying to figure out what they're looking for, you ask for specifics, right? And saying, so what specific information are you looking for? So it doesn't end there when it's like, can you send me some information? In order for me to help you further, what specific information are you looking for, right? And then that prompts an additional discussion, right?
Yeah.
So they might be saying, oh, I'm looking for, I don't know, credentials, testimonials, whatever it may be, any type of licensing. I don't know, I'm making some stuff up, right?
Yeah.
Then you continue the conversation, right? And they'll just forget that they just asked for more information, because then you end up using it as a point of conversation.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, that like it really comes back to the marketing and how you pre-frame the call too. Because if you set up the call like where you make them watch a video exactly what kind of services that you offer, or you send them something like ahead of time, that can actually like pre-frame the call and prevent that sort of question to come up, later in the call as well, right?
Yeah, another thing too,
Yeah.
especially with an influencer, if you do the preparation up front, you already answered their questions. They're all the information you think they'll ask. So before they even get to that, so hopefully you don't never ever have that that objection, because you've already provided that to them up front, because you know your positioning, you know what they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
It's like preparing for a meeting.
Mm. Let me ask you, does that happen to you a lot, Tom?
Yeah, a lot, all the time. It's like, in order to save time and having multiple meetings and like follow-ups, we basically study. Like I was giving this feedback to the other guy on the B2B on the medical devices.
Yeah.
And he had the exact same situation happen. I gave him feedback. He had a meeting with 12 execs, that big meeting. And the VP said, he said, they said, can you send us more information? And he typed to me, he's like, Tom, I don't have any more information to give. He told me that because he gave everything on the presentation, but he kind of lied. He's like, sure, I'll send you some more information. But he told me he didn't have any additional information to give. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to send them? Right. Yeah. And I told him that he should just ask specifically, what information are you looking for? Yeah. And then schedule a follow-up meeting. Instead of sending you information, how about we do a follow-up call to cover the specific topics? That'd be helpful, right? In case you have questions, like more additional questions. So like B2B is a little bit different, right? Like you can have an additional meeting and stuff like that. So like, well, that way you keep them committed and schedule a follow-up meeting to cover those specific topics, right? But B2C is a little bit different, right? I mean, that's just a straight objection.
Yeah, because you're a B2B king, bro. Like you're the MVP in our group, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How do you think it's different from B2B versus B2C?
Because B2B is a lot more parties involved in decisioning. And there's that whole two entities. I think that's really important to keep in mind. Is the business aspect of it, and there's the personal aspect of it. The person who's making the decision, their neck is on the line if they pick the wrong person, the wrong vendor. If they don't, they're taking a risk. That's why they want to make sure there's some kind of guarantee a lot, right? But they know there isn't guarantee, but they want to make sure they pick the right group to do the work, especially if they outsource it. Because it's their job. These people from B2B, like if they do a poor decision, they're worried about their jobs. Whereas nothing happens to us, right? They make a poor decision, or if you under deliver, right? They just fire you, right? You just move on. But for them, they make a mistake, they can lose their job. So it's really important to get their confidence and their trust with you that you'll deliver the work or figure it out. Sometimes we actually, when we under deliver, sometimes we'll take the hit because that was our fault. Like we don't charge the client, right? But it's very rare. But in those cases where we did make a mistake, or because of we had really bad resources or poor selection of people, we'll pay for it, right? Hence, that's why consulting sucks, because guess who pays for it? The team works longer. We don't get paid anymore, right? We don't charge the client those additional hours. The team just works to make sure they get the result. So they work the overtime, right? Wow. Right. That's what happens. If you have these executives making these decisions saying, we need to be done in 2 weeks. And we were saying, there's no way we're to be done in 2 weeks. It's going to be like a month. Who committed that to the client? It's like, well, we can't charge the client for that. It's our mistake for bad forecasting. So we just have to make up for it with hours. So everyone's hands on deck, working weekends, working long hours. That's just the nature of it. It's like these poor commitments.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's technically what the cost to the, like basically the company loses money because they don't charge for those additional hours to the client, because they look at it as that's our mistake, but we're still going to deliver it, but at the cost of our people, which is why I hate that model.
So what I'm hearing too is like if somebody brings up that that objection in B2B, it's pretty standard, right?
Yeah, it's pretty standard, because at the end of the day, it's understanding where they're coming from, that position. Like if it's a VP or CFO, say, I want you to be successful. What exactly are you looking for? Like what other information so you can make a better decision? Or if you're going to review this with your board of directors, or you're going to meet with the other executives, what specific information are you looking for so I can help you, right? That's all it is, right? Because otherwise, so many people make the mistake by not asking that question. And we send this whole proposal with random stuff, and it didn't meet their needs. because they never asked a question,
Yeah.
and they lose the proposal, they lose the deal.
Mm.
Whereas you can focus on the proposal or presentation, or you send them information that's very specific to what he's looking for, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
And it depends on the individual. Some like, I want to see the staffing plan. I want to see a timeline. I want to see milestones, right? You don't know unless you ask that question. So it's very different from B2C, right? Obviously. Like, I think that with B2C, with people, it's just smoke and mirrors. I mean, who sits down and look at that information, right?
Like, if you're really savvy, you do all that shit before you get on a call too. Like, I know whenever I'm like about to jump on a sales call, like as a prospect, right? You know, I fucking YouTubed and did all that shit before jumping on a call, man. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
The only thing I can think of is they're trying to compare pros and cons. We can work that out, right? Like, for example, if you're looking, like if I were to buy a course, and there's 3 different influencers I'm looking at, I'm trying to figure out what they all cover, if it's the same cost, right? If they're all $1,000, then I think it comes down to like, you know, how do I know one guy covers more than the other? You don't know. So that's where I think that you can do the comparison where I say, I need more information. What exactly are the modules, you know?
And that's when you send them the Dan Locke abundance mindset video and just be like, hey, just buy all 3, bro. Yes, and yes, close.
That's what I did. You know, I bought 3 courses with the same topic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How about you, David? Do you ever go through like just send, like, do you ever have prospects that are just like, just send me some more information? Does that ever happen to you, man?
Probably my last 3 calls. It's like I'm attracting emerald prospects or something.
Yeah.
And they want to get so specific. And I'm just thinking in my mind, I was like, with this much questions, it sounds like they're unsure of themselves or they're afraid of taking risks or something. Right? So I just have to call them out on it.
Let me ask you, how do you know when it's like smoke and mirrors versus actual need? Like, just for a team. Anybody can answer it.
I think you just ask directly.
Hey, can we clarify what?
Did we lose David?
I think we lost David.
Oh, he's frozen.
Take a picture right now.
Oh.
Hurry up.
Yeah. Fuck.
You got it?
No.
Yes.
You got it? Perfect.
Well, everyone's smiling except David.
I think to answer your question, Kevin, at least in my thoughts, is that just ask. You know, if they're asking, you just like, okay, it's a real interesting question, right? And in my head, you might just say, you know, I can sense that, you know, you don't really feel comfortable with your decision, or you just tell with their voice, right?
Yeah.
Or if there's hesitation.
It seems like.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way you can really tell.
It really depends on the context of what they said, their tonality.
Yeah. Like usually it's after a long pause. They're like thinking, it's like, well,
yeah.
Can you send me some more information? Because it's almost like they don't know what else to say. So they're just saying that. And then you can just tell, right?
You know what's really funny about closing and stuff? It's always like, I always tell you guys, like, it's always the gut reaction that is always freaking, that's the thing that you should always say. It's probably not like as raw as you should actually say it, but typically that's usually the angle that you should go.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever realize that? Or do you guys have the same?
Wait, you mean how we handle that objection?
Yeah. Like, you know, when they say, just send me some more information, you know, like those situations where it's kind of like, this guy is just like bullshitting me. He just wants to get off the phone versus like, hey, it's actual legit question.
Sometimes I go with, well, let's say I send you this information. What would you do then? Sometimes I go with that depending on how they say it.
I do like the Kayvon one where he says, what information do you need? I mean, that means I didn't do my job, you know, like to kind of inform you, right? I mean, that's why we're on a call today. If you need more information, tell me what it is. That means I didn't quite do my job. right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out like exactly what is that information, especially if they're more emeralds, right? Like I said, I always try to figure out what exactly would that information help them figure out before I even answer any question.
No, that's a good way to say that.
Yeah. Or you can help them through it. Oh, I'm just needing information so I can compare pros and cons. Well, what are the specific pros and cons you're looking for? You like help walk them through it. And then it's like, or if it's costs, oh, I'm looking for, cheaper. That's when you kind of insert yourself about value versus cost, right?
Mhm.
Or pros and cons, which one do you heavily on? Let's assume that you have every single pro there in this program and it meets all those pros. Then that's when you can kind of feed out. I think that if you go to the route of just trying to help them out and then use those little objections and they can't say no to.
Hey, Tom wants to use the Ben Franklin clothes on them, man. Do you guys know the Ben Franklin crows? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Crap. No, I don't.
It's like this really corny clothes, like the sales clothes, like it's a traditional sales one. It's like there's a really smart guy named Ben Franklin, and how he used to make decisions was like list all the pros and list all the cons. And if the like if the pro side outweighs the con side, that's the decision that he made, or some corny shit like that. It's probably delivered better than that, but it's like hella corny. And then like what the salesperson tries to do, they try to add as many pros and like try to like ignore the cons, man, or mitigate it. It's pretty funny, man.
Yeah. Oh, speaking going back to the whole objections thing.
Yeah.
Remember that one call that I put so much work and effort in it?
Yeah.
I just realized what happened. I reread the Don't Split the Difference book on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it was? A counterfeit yes. Meaning that they agreed to everything, but it wasn't the truth.
I remember that part.
Remember that part? It hit me when I was reading that part. I was like, oh, shoot, I've been a victim of counterfeit yes,
And I've done the counterfeit yes before.
Yeah. And so, like, now I'm more aware of it. It's like, I really never got them to that position, right? It means I never got deeper enough, right?
Yeah.
Or never really aligned to what happens if they didn't take this. Well, I didn't go further to get them to commit, to get a committed yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just had a light bulb when I was flying. It's like, oh, shoot, I've been a victim of counterfeit yes.
Counterfeit yeses are pretty interesting too, because I fell victim to it too, like a few times. And I've been on the other side too, like but like I think always giving people like a way out to flush out all the bullshit, like giving them the space, just like, yep, it's okay to say no to me, if you don't really want to do this program, and usually they'll say one or two things. They'll agree with you, and then you can go back into the pains and dreams of, if like, so what happens if you don't do this program? What's next for you? How are you going to get to your goals, right? That's one avenue. Or they'll be like, no, I really want to do this. And that's how you know. It usually goes one or two avenues, right? So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. David, what are you trying to say before you got cut off, man?
Man, what was I? Do you guys remember?
It was about that objection, right?
Yeah.
You were talking about the emeralds that you had.
Yeah, they start like getting into very specific questions, like, does this course have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, right? So after you say yes to all of it, because it literally does have it. To the point that it's like, damn, it just keeps coming with questions. So I'm just like thinking, it must be something else then. It sounds like they're unsure of I don't know, maybe they have these doubts about their ability if it doesn't have the perfect program, right?
Yeah.
So then, I usually just call them out at that point. It's like, can't keep saying yes to all these questions.
Yeah.
It would be good, David, in that situation, I would probably ask him, it sounds like you want to have a very clear direction and have every piece of the blueprint, right? even if you had the perfect blueprint, do you think you're going to be able to be successful at it, or you're going to spend more time on each of these sections, right? Because it wasn't made for that way. There's no perfect blueprint. Like any course, you could buy 3-4 different courses of the same topic. You think you're going to get the same blueprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you this much: this course is extremely comprehensive. It's going to get you where you need to be. You know, what more do you need to ask for, right? And then they might go, oh, I can find all this content on YouTube. That's great. Good luck trying to organize it all, you know, not miss any step.
Yeah, that's perfect. And like, why did you exactly book the call then? Why didn't you just go on YouTube and go down that route, right? Or you know what? You can use Mia's clothes and be like, hey, what kind of man doesn't do the research before jumping on a call?
Exactly. Like, I just you remember the prospect I told you the other day, Kevin? Like, he has talked to you before.
Did he? I don't.
Yeah. So that kid, I called him out like so many times that he felt so uncomfortable. So he said that he wants to be a business owner. He wanna have his own production team, doing photograph, photograph, right, for people and stuff like that. And then, you know, his objection is that I know that he doesn't believe in himself and his ability. So he bring out the objection of, oh, you know, my mom is gonna kick me out of the house if I don't buy the car first. You know, I'm gonna buy $3,500 car and then I'm gonna save up and then pay for the program and all that kind of stuff. You know. Then I asked him, so you said you want to become a business owner. So how are you going to become a business owner listening to your mom telling you what to do and what not to do?
Man, I
And
love that.
Damn, Mia,
I love that. Oh my god.
and
so
you know,
good.
you know what he said?
Level
He's
3.
like, he was so uneasy, right? He was so uncomfortable. He doesn't know what to say. He's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, fuck it. Let's just do it, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? And then he's like, yeah, so I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna save up now. So let me do the calculation. So it's gonna take me about, and he's, you know, doing calculation and stuff like that. He's like, oh, so it's gonna take me about 5 weeks until I can, you know, go ahead and pay for the program. So I already know that he's like bullshitting, right? Like he should want to get off the phone because he can't deal with me anymore. And then like, you know, at the end, I'm like, I give him a way out, right? He told me that, oh, I understand that you just wanna make the sale today. So but I cut him off right there. I'm like, no, if you think that I want to make the sale today, you're wrong. I don't want you to pay today unless you are sure you know what you want to do with your life, right? And from what I'm seeing right now, you don't believe in yourself. Or let's put your mom aside, right? Let's put your mom, your dad aside, right? So if you are in the, like, he's is very miserable, right? You are willing to, he wanted to enroll into ATC last year, and today he's still being in the same position. Then I'm asking him, like, so imagine, right, 1 year from today, like 2019, you are still being in the same exact position, right? Being miserable and cannot move out because your parents don't believe in you, and, you know, can't even have one client for your own, you know, business or whatever, right? And knowing 1 year ago, 2 years ago, there was an opportunity presenting in front of you, right? Where you can really, you know, have your own clients, right? And really just to prove your parents, yourself, that you can do something in your life, right? But because some reason today you can't make that decision, what would you say to yourself then? You know, I asked him that question, and then he just can't answer me. And I told him that I'm not trying to get the sale today, right? Because I know that he's not sure about what he wants to do. So I tell him that, you know, I'm gonna get off the phone, and I give him time to think whatever he wants to do. And he told me, like, by you saying this, I believe and trust this program more. In my head, I'm like, yeah, because you're being bullshit, you're bullshitting the whole time. So I'm gonna just get off the phone because I don't want to waste no time of mine anymore. And I just hang up on him like that.
I
Yeah.
knew it. I knew you. I knew you did the be a man clothes, man. Ugh,
Yeah.
make
But
me
it's so
proud.
good. It's so good though.
Yeah, dude. Mia, like, your be a man closes are always so perfect, man. I love it.
Yeah, it works, I mean, especially like as we are women and we calling them, the man out, and they be like, damn, I'm being such a loser in front of this girl and shit. And then, maybe they just want to prove to me, and they're gonna just fucking go ahead and buy the program, and later on they thanks me, right? That's so many people thank me after I close them, like Mohit, right? Roger, everybody. I call Gideon, everyone.
Mia, I think it's not just anyone can just be a man clothes. I think it's your delivery.
Yeah.
It's really your character that really adds on to it. Like it actually demands a little bit of respect.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Because you got that feisty, like, strong Vietnamese girl in you, man. Like, honestly, I don't think I could do the be a man clothes. I wouldn't have the balls to really, really be like that. But you, like, you're perfect with that.
No, like girl like me and Jasmine and Lexi, we can say that. But then, like, as you guys saying that, maybe they'd be like, okay, what kind of man are you? And
Yo,
then how are you gonna
I
handle
might
that
even
shit?
try that out, but it might get someone on a bad mood if I did that.
They're gonna get so defensive. They're like,
It's like, I'm so appalled and insulted. Why would you say that? It's like, well, clearly you're not being a man.
Yeah, it's gonna turn out like offensive and stuff if you guys say it like as a man. I don't know, maybe depends on your tonality too.
But it's really funny. Like, if we were to reverse roles, right? Like, we could never say what kind of woman are you? Like, dude, that
I know.
would not work out for us at all either.
Oh, true.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to try it out, but it'll go the wrong way. If I say, who's more of a man right now? The guy on this side making money, or the guy on your side? Like, so it's just never gonna go right? I can guarantee you after this call that if you don't join this program, nothing's gonna change in your life. After this call, you're gonna be stuck to where you are, and I'm gonna move on. It's like that. It's like you can't be so. I wish you could be so direct, like you said. Like the gut feeling, like you want to say it, but then you can't. It's all about delivery.
Actually, the way you delivered it wasn't that bad, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't
No,
bad.
I know.
Yeah, that was good.
It all depends. It all depends on the character, right? I can't do that to a pearl. I can't do that. Like if that's my default mode, I can't do that with every person.
True.
Do you think there's people out that actually enjoy, like, crushing pearls and stuff like that? Like, this person, fuck them. Let's crush them.
I like to do it to everyone if I had a choice. If I, because, like I was telling Dave or other people, like in like Live Rich, and I was telling like Dylan, I shared that whole thing about if you want to be an entrepreneur and you can't scrounge up $500 or $1,000, maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, right? If you can't be resourceful and figure it out, like don't even do it. Like I'm not here to try to sell it. I'm telling you the reality that you're not going to survive if you can't freaking figure out how to get $500 or $1,000 to buy a freaking course. It's like a waste of my time right now. Like that's how I look at it. But I can't deliver it like that. But that's what's going in my head.
Try it.
That's really good.
You
Try it.
should
No.
try it.
No.
What's wrong with that?
No. I want to, but ever since I in the beginning of November, I was gonna help close for Kevin Davis course, but then I got hit with the kid, right? And I couldn't take any calls. And I wanted
made it sound like you're a dad, by the way.
Dude, I am a dad, man. I feed, change his diapers, I cook for him, I take him out. People think it's my kid.
He looks like you too.
He does.
From what I saw.
Yeah, but anyways,
Tom will be in that Trojan commercial.
No, but I can't wait. Like next week, I'm gonna try, figure out the whole thing with Close.io and start taking these calls for Amazon, Shopify, and stuff like that. Because I'm gonna be hard on these people, because these people who are like, I feel like, I don't know, these young millennials, because they have that broad range, and they figure out everything's gonna be handed to them, that they're not willing to do the work. I have zero tolerance for that, because I had to deal with it in my company. Like when I had to like hire, the college grads into consulting. Like so many of them, I mean, no offense to millennials, just feel like I see a trend of like entitlement,
Yeah.
Oh,
and especially MBA students, it's the worst. They
Yeah.
ask for
that's
so much money, and I'm like,
oh
what more can you do? You have no experience. You have an MBA. You're asking for like 20 grand more. What more can you do with the person I'm just hiring out with an undergrad? I'm sorry, with a bachelor's degree, right? Like your first year into consulting, you're going to do the exact same work as they're going to do. What more can you add? What, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to pay you more just because you have a degree in an MBA. I'm sorry. It's just the reality. We're not a strategy company that values MBAs that much, but yet they're adamant. They're demanding it, So I just have zero tolerance for that type of stuff.
So basically, yeah, they don't like your point of view is like an MBA doesn't add any value, any extra value to the marketplace.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, experience. How do you feel, Tao, that or Mia, that Tom just attacked you? You are a millennial and you're also an MBA student. How do you feel?
I feel it's right. I
Oh,
don't even like put any expectation on the degree. I try to get it done because I went through it like halfway already. But I know for the fact that fucking degree doesn't do you any good. Like nowadays, if you go out there, like now, if I'm going out there to apply for job, I know that I can beat people up because fucking like my experience and my confidence shit. But before, if I would just get out from college with 2 degrees, what the fuck I can do? What like the fuck can I deliver besides knowing nothing with the 2 piece of papers? It's not doing anything. I know that.
Yeah, and Kevin, there's no attack. That's why when I was trying to pursue the whole mentor coaching on campus, I was trying to help students to avoid those type of mistakes. I'm not against higher education. I say do it for the right reasons, right? And a lot of them don't know. They just, because what ended up happening, and I see a trend because I've been recruiting for about 10 years. When students don't get jobs after they graduate with their bachelor's and they struggle, so what's the default mode? They continue school. They go to get an MBA and they have no work experience. And then it makes it worse because then now they accrued all this debt and then they go out with no work experience, maybe some internships here and there, and they're demanding higher pay. No one's going to do that, right? At the end of the day, it's experience. So I was like, I'd rather take someone with a 3.0 GPA that have 6 years of, or 5 years of internships or 5 summers of internships over someone who, has a master's that have zero experience. It's tough. It's tough. But I told him I do show empathy when I talk to them. It's like, I understand you try to get a return on your investment for that degree, but that's not how the world works. You have to understand, if you were in my position, that's what I try to do. If you were in my position and you have these 2 people and you're going to put them to do the exact same roles and responsibilities, what would you do? And especially if you're trying to run a business, the one that's most expensive, the one that's less expensive.
Dude, you stole this from this book, man.
Never what?
Never split the difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he talks about that in the beginning.
I didn't. It's so funny because I've been doing that. That's why I like that book so much, because there was some stuff that I did apply, but some stuff that I was learning from it too.
Yeah, I think that's a great book. Like, Never Split the Difference. I love that book so much.
I love it. I actually recommend it to someone.
Yeah, right. Like,
I'm
so glad that you liked it, man.
No, it's a really good read. I just like I like stuff that's psychology type stuff, or something that you can relate to.
Dude, there's so much you can learn from that book because it's like, okay, like in a hostage situation, you're not going to go 50-50 with someone. You're not going to be like, hey, yo, kill half the hostages and like whatever, we'll meet at $25,000. It's never like that. And so it's kind of cool to see, like, if you have these limitations, what does closing look like? You know, when you can't walk away, when you can't be like, but it looks like we're not doing business today, but before I leave, like, you can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But I tell you what, guys, you know, MBA is really good if you want to change your career path. Like, you know, like if you say, for example, you're an engineer and you want to get an MBA because you want to go into more business, that makes sense. Like, as long as you have a purpose, I always tell people, as long as you're trying to, like, wherever it may be, or if you want to get your MBA, get into like strategy consulting, because that's all those companies value. They value that a lot more. Or if you're working for an industry where PhD and MBAs are far more valuable, like in banking or in chemical companies or anything that has to do with science, right? They value PhD. So those degrees make sense, right? But in the field of business, it's very hard unless you're going more strategy.
In the field of like entrepreneurship, it's fucking useless, man. Like, in my opinion, like, it's a big expense.
I mean, if you're trying to go for fucking MBA, right? Just don't do it. It's a fucking waste of time, man. Cause those fucking professors who teaching the class, they don't even have the business themselves.
It's true.
They're just learning from school, and they, taking master degree, PhD, and everything, but they don't even have zero single fucking experience about how the market works or how the world works in general, and they just telling you BS.
It's all theory. It's all theory.
Yeah, all theory.
Another thing too is a lot of these professors, they have tenure, so it's like they're good for life, and they might have like less motivation, to really do on that. So, but you know what, MBA is really good for is also networking. I know a lot of people who did executive MBAs because it's required to be a partner at my firm. It's mainly just for networking with people in that same program.
Hey, Tom, I have a question. So for, like, I'm a young engineer, and I thought about, like, the company I'm working for right now. Like, I'm thinking it's kind of bad. Like, if I don't plan on staying for a long time, right? So I was thinking about, like, should I just take some classes because I know my company will pay for it? Like, if I want to get my MBA, like, does it make sense as a young engineer doing that? Like, straight, I just graduated 6 months into the job. Does that even make sense?
That's the first question I always ask is, what are you going to do with the MBA? Is it to get promoted? Is a requirement, a prerequisite to get promoted for the next rank? Another thing too is, here's another thing too. There's a legal requirement that a lot of these MBAs, yes, they always say never pay for your MBA because companies will pay for it, but they lock you in 2 years minimum.
Oh.
Right. So after you get it, they said that if you leave the company within those 2 years, you get stuck with the bill.
Okay.
So like that's why, at least in my firm, they pay for the MBA, the executive MBA. It's really expensive. The executive MBA is like $160,000, right?
God damn.
And like the top school, in order to get there, like in order to become partner, they'll pay for that. But once you get that degree, you're locked in for 2 years. Now, they'll pay for your MBA. I forgot, like monthly or something like that. I can't remember what the period is. But if for some reason you leave, you get stuck with the whole bill. Like, even though they would pay portions of it, like say after a year, you think, oh, I only owe 80 because they paid for the first 80. No, you get stuck with all 160, when you leave. So a lot of them wait 2 years and then quit or change companies because now they have this executive MBA title and they're a partner level. So they just they jump ship, right? So they can become like, I don't know, a C-level position at a company or something, right? But it's a commitment. So even then, it doesn't stop there. So if you do decide to go to the program, expect to have some kind of level of yearly commitments with them.
And even like, I think, Tom, you said something that was really interesting is like, we're just considering the money right now. We're not even considering the time commitment, right? So if you like eventually want to be an entrepreneur, does it really make sense to do like an MBA program like that, right? Because I don't know how is it usually part-time MBA, like usually for those
You could do both. It depends if you can afford to do it. right?
Yeah.
If you do full time, 2 years. If it's part time, could be 4 years.
Mm. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's a long
fucking time.
Oh, wow. Oh my god.
Like
Sweet.
Mia, how long have you gone through the program?
1 year,
Okay,
and that's
full,
it.
that's part time or full time?
Full time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Extra time, to be honest. Like, so I only have to take 10 classes in total, and I'm taking like 4 classes last semester, 2 classes in the summer, and 4 classes this semester. So in total, it's fucking what? Yeah, 10.
Wow.
And I learned zero. Like, I learned nothing.
Wait, this is your MBA?
Yeah, my MBA, and I pay like fucking 40,000 or something for the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for 1 year. Yeah.
So let me ask you, Mia, like if you learn absolutely nothing, there's not one thing that you could say that you got out of it.
Yeah, nothing. Just, seeing people operating at that level, I'm so sick of it. People, like, even professor, right?
Yeah.
They just do things that they have to do, right? And it's the other day, right? Now that I'm so confident when it comes to doing presentation where other people like struggling and shit. And then one of the presentation was about the admission of this school is going down. Like, the application, everything's going down. And so one of our slide was saying that, some of the major are dying, right? It means that nobody's fucking applying for it anymore. So we put that title in, and the professor, he criticized us in front of everyone. What
Wow.
the fuck?
That's messed up.
So let me ask you, Tal.
You know what he said though? You know
Yeah.
what he said? He's like, be careful with your word of choice, right? What do you mean by dying? Imagine if a dean is sitting right here and you saying that, some major are dying, then how do we look in front of her? To be honest, I was, calm down, and I just smile because I know it has nothing to do with me. I don't proceed any further with this degree. But to be honest, I'm gonna tell him in the fucking face. I'll be like, if you don't want to look at the fucking truth and fucking doing something about it, then it's gonna die. To be honest, So what's wrong with the word dying? Like, they can't even take that, they don't even look at the truth. They just always like kiss ass and everything in school, and trying to, like, the head of the director of the MBA program in my school, right? That presentation is pretty much showing her, how messed up, the fucking system is, and asking her question, how is she doing, what is she going to do to improve the system? She doesn't know shit. Everything is like, oh yeah, I gotta go back and look to my team and see, how we can do things, and what are we gonna do and stuff. But she doesn't know anything. And just the word dying, the professor was like, this is like bad, you are not like saying the right thing, and making us look bad in front of the fucking director and shit. I'm like, see, like, I don't really want to learn anything from them.
Mia, what was your MBA degree? What was it in?
Just master degree of business administration.
Business administration? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So basically their programs aren't doing too well, and they're basically not making money.
Yeah, not making money. Our school having like less and less student like every year and shit, especially like MBA program. And they trying to look at the data to analyze like what can they do and shit. I didn't know why I would take that class, MIS, to be honest. I thought it was a requirement, that's why I took it. But then I figured that it wasn't required, and now I'm already taking it. I'm fucking like, are you familiar with Tableau, Jasmine?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm having a hard fucking time.
Oh man, don't you hate it when they give you coursework that is not relevant to what you want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys, do you think that that's going to be the trend? Do you think that's going to be a trend, like where students like millennials and stuff are just going to just be like, fuck it, school's not worth it, and just like opt out and go into alternative education?
I bet. I bet.
There's forecasts. I think it was Yale or Harvard or something, or no, it was Deloitte or something, where they did analysis of the trends for the
Mhm.
last decade or so. They're saying that by 2030, that more than half the workforce will be freelancers and entrepreneurs, like more than half.
Mm.
And that there's another period they said that it's going to be an economic concern because there's going to be a higher demand for corporate jobs or jobs in general, and a low supply. They're saying that the workforce won't have the skill sets to do the work that's needed.
Do you think that's necessarily true?
I don't know. I'm seeing that trend because think of it this way. I'm looking at it from a consulting or at least corporate level where you have a bunch of people who are holding C-level positions, right? And no one's staying that long. No one, like millennials today, will not commit to a company 20, 30 years, 40 years
Yeah.
to reach that level. So who's going to be the next leaders? So what's going to end up happening is that these leaders will probably be forced to stay longer during retirement. Instead of retiring early, they're going to have to stay longer because they're not going to have qualified people or any future leaders left down the road. So I'm really interested to see what our next set of leaders at the C-level positions or C-suite positions in the next 20 years, 20. It'd be really curious on how the economy will look like.
Yeah, it's definitely like all this self-education is definitely, in my opinion, going to be a huge disruptor, man. Like if you can, like you literally can learn almost anything online nowadays.
That's why I mentioned that one statistic. I forgot what it was. It was like 1900s. They're talking about how knowledge doubles every 25 years or something like that. And then during the world wars, like 1940s, that knowledge was doubling like every 10 years or something. You get the idea. They said today knowledge doubles every like year, if not every day. It'll get to that point. So it's like the amount of information that is out there is almost like, gone are the days of kind of like your brick and mortar stores, right? It would be the same thing with education. Like it might be get to the point where it's all digital, all online, different things that you want to learn, and then you learn specific high demand skills. Yeah. But there's always going to be that population, how I feel. I don't think it's always like that, transition and just what I call disruptive technologies. The same thing with like education system. It's always going to be some coexistence because just like electric cars, people are like, oh, if we're going to have flying cars or electric cars, but guess what? The infrastructure doesn't support it. The rest of the world is still driving, combustion engines. It supports that. So a huge population would still use it. And there's going to be a slow wave of like people adopting to the world of electric cars. The same thing with education, right? There's always going to be a large population of the school system, and people going to class and college. I don't think it's ever going to go away. I think it's just that it's going to take a long time for it to transition. Like now we're starting to be at that what you call the tip of the iceberg, where you start to see the shift of there's a lot more entrepreneurship, there's a lot more consulting. Because when I was in school, in college, I didn't even know what consulting was. Now when I go on campus, almost every single student knows what it is. They all know the big players in consulting. So I'm like shocked that they have programs teaching about it, because when I was in school, they didn't have any of that,
You want to know the truth? I didn't even know what consulting was until I met you, man.
Yeah.
What? Where have you been?
Yo, bro, I knew about funnels and all that sort of shit, copywriting, but I didn't know what a fucking consultant was. I was like, what are you consulting, bro?
Yeah, and it's a generic term too. Like everyone's a consulting, right? But like it just depends on their background, where they came from, right? So it's a very generic term.
I technically give consults too when I'm a pharmacist and shit, but I know what I do is totally fucking different from what Tom does, man.
Yeah.
But yeah,
when I first started, people thought I was therapy because I didn't know, right? Consulting was like, they thought I was doing like some kind of therapist type work. But
I see where they get that. It's like consoling, right?
yeah,
Console.
Well, even like when somebody asks me a question at the pharmacy, that's consulting. That's the they literally name it like consulting
yeah.
consultation, right?
I mean, I didn't even know what the job was. What I was sold on was 5 weeks vacation. That was it. I mean, I just took the job. It was the
5
second
weeks
highest
done.
paid. My parents were so upset. It was like a $15,000 or $20,000 difference between the highest paying offer and the job I took. My mom got so upset, thought I threw away money on the table. And I was like, well, it's because they didn't know where I'm going to be next 2 years. I was asking that question, but at least the consulting, or if they say consulting, they said I get to try a lot of different things and different projects and figure out what I want to do. I'm like, okay. And I get 5 weeks vacation. So I was like,
Let me ask you this: like, you guys are getting older now and stuff too. Like, um, when you have kids, right? Like, would you recommend them to go to college? I mean, I obviously it depends what they want to do, but
yeah,
like, would you say college is a must for them? You know, like our
No.
generation, college is like you have to go to college, right?
I was like, no, I'm all about like evolving with the times. So if it's required, if they would like say, for example, if they want to be if they have a passion to be in like, becoming a doctor or an ER, whatever it is, right? Or surgeon, then you also have to go through
You need
education, right?
Wait, you can't just take a 7-week course, a like live webinar thing, and can't learn surgery through that? I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. You can't just look it up on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe that time will change, by the time I have a kid,
there's actually a surgeon in HTC, and
TJ?
I said, yeah, well, yeah,
He's a foot surgeon.
yeah, and he's like, I don't know if you talked to him, but yeah, I
he's
sat to him next on the airplane,
Yeah.
and then he said he's working on becoming an influencer, like developing a course and having a surgeon. So I thought that was really cool. That's what it reminded me of.
Give me 7 weeks and I'll teach you how to do neurosurgery.
Very specific.
Only 7 spots left.
I want to add on to like what Tom was mentioning. Like especially my company, I don't know about other companies, but my company is pretty big, and retention with the younger engineers is a huge problem. Like most of them won't stay past 5 years. A lot of them leave like 6 months. Well, not a lot of them, but some of them leave 6 months in. So I think the pattern at least what I see from among my peers, they graduate, but then they start a business. Like my landlord, he's like 21, and we went to college together, and then he just bought this apartment, and so he has other businesses. He started like clothing brand. I have another friend that started an Amazon business. So all engineers, and I think they're all working to become entrepreneurs. So I think the idea of college isn't going to go away. I think a lot of students, just because college is still embedded in the educational system, like you must go to college, I don't think that's going to go away. I just agree with Tom's point. It's going to be harder to find talented leadership.
Yeah. That's why talent acquisition is so hard. Remember we talked about those 3 pieces for a company. When you talk about like product and market, and you talk about distribution, and then the last piece is the hardest is talent acquisition. That's where it's going to have that problem. Like I ran into that problem trying to build the practice for my company. And that's why I had to handpick everyone, because I didn't want people who are the complainers, that aren't hardworking. It's like, it was really hard. Like I only want like top performers out of college in order to do, kind of be part of the practice.
Yeah.
Right. And disqualify all the other ones. It's really hard. But yeah, I think that it's going to go that way. I think people are going to realize it. But here's an interesting thing. I think that the folks who are like the kind of just starting their careers, like 3 years in, those are going to be like the generation that's going to struggle, because they don't have enough guidance on how to figure it out on their own, like the entrepreneur part, right?
Yeah.
Because there's such a high volume of them now, right? Before, like, entrepreneurship always existed, but it wasn't at the peak as it is today. Like it's very mainstream with all the motivational speakers and other entrepreneurs and young people, like YouTube and everything else, like people are seeing. They're more exposed to that compared to, you know, when I graduated,
Yeah.
right? And especially when you have social media, like when I graduate, Facebook didn't even exist,
Yeah.
right? The fact that you're being targeted and you have those interested is like, I think that's, you get that, it's always in your face that that's the life that corporate life is not the way to have it, and people get influenced, right? I think every single person I hired
Mhm.
had some kind of, they always want to run their own business. Almost every single one of them, they want to pursue entrepreneurship. They just don't know why. They just don't know how, because they're risk averse. You know,
Yeah,
so
I'll tell you this, man. I'm actually quite worried, especially the mental health like aspect, right? Because we all know like there's a high barrier to entry. You like to becoming an entrepreneur, like you have to. It's it's definitely not for everyone, like for sure. But then like also the 9 to 5, everybody freaking hates the like a lot of people hate the 9 to 5 life, and I'm just kind of worried about those people stuck in the middle, caught in the middle, right?
yeah, I think that it's going to exist, and that's why there's a concern about the economy down the road. Who knows what it looks like? Because I think there's going to be a lot more people who are going to try, and that's, I think the increase of failure or increase of people who attempt entrepreneurship might be, you know, much higher than normal, and there might be higher failure rates, right? Because again, like you said, it's not for everyone. It's freaking hard, you know.
Yeah, like I'll just bring it up, be straight up. Like one of the things that I was listening to Sean Whalen on Billie Jean, and one of the first things he said, he was talking to a whole group of entrepreneurs. How many of you guys have thought about killing yourself? Like, no, really, how many of you guys? Almost everyone rose up their hand. And then the second thing he said was like, now, how many of you guys have ever told anyone? It was only like 3 people. So I'm
Yeah.
just really worried about that kind of like mental health issue for like, let's say if you don't have a mastermind like this, or you don't have people that relate, it's a very lonely freaking journey, man. And I've been on it, right? A solopreneur life, man.
Yeah, I
So
agree, man. Remember when I told you guys where I felt like I was very thankful and blessed to be part of this team, because being on your own, I realized that it doesn't matter what business you're in, you don't do things on your own, right?
yeah,
You have to be surrounded with people or a team or someone else that partner up, you know? So I think that's really, really important, especially with your mental health too,
yeah,
right? At
yeah,
least someone to go lean on, or at least, you know, can share what you're going through that is also going through something very similar, right? Something relatable.
yeah. Like, let me ask you guys. Like, I mean, a lot of you guys joined like this group within the last Tom within the last month or two, and like some of you guys lot longer, like Mia. Like, what is how has being part of a group helped you, or like yeah, how has part of being a group like helped or hurt you?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was there's a huge wealth of knowledge. Sometimes it feels infinite. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, there's someone that you can relate to. Like everyone is going on the similar journey as you. So I think those are the two things. And you, like you were saying earlier, you have someone to lean on.
Can you ask the question again, please?
Oh, I was saying like how has being part of a group helped or hurt you? Like being in a group like this.
Oh, no, it's not hurting me at all. It's just helping me. It gives me the strength, right? To do a lot of things, because I always know that there's somebody's like gonna back me up with all of the decision that I'm making. So yeah. Hey, you remember the influencer that you sent to me?
Yeah.
The girl?
Which
I'm
one?
like, Regan.
Oh, that's the $500,000 whale, man. That's crazy.
I just follow her on everything, and I just comment on one of her posts on Facebook, and she replied to me.
That's
Sweet.
awesome.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, I love her. I love her energy. She's so
She's great.
positive, and she all about personal development, and she all about mindset, all about like being yourself and branding yourself and get paid by being you and shit. Oh my god, I love her so much. And she and her fiance, right, is doing the same thing. So I I really want to do something about it. I've been stalking her, you know, during this talk, this meeting.
Congrats, man.
Nice.
See, that's the power of a group too. Like this is a perfect example, right? Like, sure, I could have contacted her, but like I feel like it's a lot stronger coming from a woman entrepreneur, like, you know, who's driven. You know, we can use each other. We can use each other's like talents or looks or whatever for clickbait.
Support system and leverage. Those were the keywords that came to my mind.
/ exploitation. Cool. Wow, dude, like doing this like long format makes me want to think like maybe we should go podcast format, like video podcast format.
We should. This kind of raw material, I mean, the raw content is really helpful, and I'm sure there's a lot of people are struggling building team, right? Like team building is something that very like not easy.
Yeah, it's extremely hard.
It's hard. Like I'm like surprising because Kevin is able to bring in people, and people are willing to stay with Kevin. It's not easy. Like the idea that Sifu gave to us, like, you know, you're gonna be leading 10 people in your team and fucking bring in influencers and stuff. But people's gonna leave if they don't have no purpose, or they don't get their own or they don't see any benefits.
Yeah.
But like, look at us. We haven't even like actually making real money yet, but we're still staying. We're still like believing in that one day we're gonna make it happen, you know.
Yeah.
So it's extremely hard, and you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Yeah, that always, like, I'm not gonna lie, I think that's one thing that I always kind of not, I wouldn't say fear, but I know is a real big concern, right? Because like I'm always, that's why earlier when I had my meeting, that was the first thing I said. I was just thinking about ways to generate income for the team, right? And like that's why I've been pushing so hard to get influencers, because like regardless, money is the lifeline of any sort of business, right? And yes, we have a lot in the pipeline. Like I'm not worried like 2 to 3 years. I'm worried about like tomorrow though. Like, you know, like I want to make sure that I provide, me as a leader, I'm trying to provide like a way for us to all eat, you know, today, not 3 years later, you know. But it's also like the same thing as like trying to balance that patience too, because you think about it, all this actually did not start that long ago, you know, and it's really crazy, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kevin, because my friends have to always remind me, because patience is really important. I like you beat yourself up, right? Because you want to see results right away. You try to take all this massive action, and you want to see results like ASAP. But the reality of these things is that you have to nurture it, and it will come down later. Like a lot of the people, it take a few years. There's a reason why they say 4 years a business will be lucky to break even or survive, and most of them fail in 7, right? It's like a certain timeline. Those were like back in the brick and mortar days. Now it's a lot faster, right? When it comes with like more digital, more these type of business models, right? So you can really turn around within a year or 2 years. So it's a lot faster. So I think it just matter of just time, right? With all the connections that we have right now, working on these opportunities, like it's gonna one of these is gonna hit, and then we're gonna be in a good spot. I absolutely believe in that. You know, with all these connections, like we will get it.
You know, it's really crazy. Even with the client that we're working together on right now, dude. That was only 2 weeks ago. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I looked at the time date. It was like 11/17, like 2018. Freaking crazy.
And we gotta make sure it's done right, because there's a lot of potential in that offer that he has.
Yeah.
and he wants to act fast. The fact that he wants to act fast is a good sign. And I think that everyone here is in a position to do that type of work. Like, we couldn't get rid of the whole fear of B2B because his offering is so straightforward that, you know, over time we can go through the basic things that these clients are looking for, or these prospects are looking for, and everyone could be on the same page on and get used to it, you know?
Yeah.
Because once you're in one industry, it's not going to change that much. Once you know the language a little bit, what to look for, and we just train everybody. So I think that once we get things kind of flowing, I think it'll help bring a lot of new opportunities for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's freaking crazy because he talked, I think he mentioned it about, even though it's $1,000 per person, right, for this online training, but he specifically told us that he's going for groups, right? He wants to go over these B2B, like the C-level execs, and say, you know, companies that have like 10, 20, whatever people. So you do the multiplier effect, right? $1,000, you have 10 people, that's $10,000, right? Or you have 20 people. Like, these customer service groups, customer service departments are really big. So it's a multiplying effect.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be freaking crazy. I can't wait till this like scales up. Like, I know for me, like, what I'm really good at is just like being myself, right? That's like the best offer I can ever give, right? Because I know, like, deep down inside, I just want to help people, right? And by connecting people, I think that's like my real strength, right? And people tend, like, they sense that, right? But man, like, it's so cool to be like working with people like you who are really strong, like, at implementation and getting everything like scaled up. Man, it's so awesome. And it's so crazy how, like, I think about this group and like it blows my mind every single time I look at it. Like, I take a step back and I'm just like, damn, how did all these people like come into my life? Because all you guys, like, take a look at it. Mia's doing her MBA. I don't even know if David is there, but Jasmine, your MBA. Like, David was a trader, and Tom, like, you're a consultant for for like 100 years, man. You have 100 years of experience, bro. But like, it's crazy. Like, we like, I like, this team is built not off just like people who didn't do college. Like, dude, we are all top performers at our old life, and we're trying to create something new. Isn't that so freaking crazy? Do you guys see that too?
Oh shit! Wow.
Right?
there's a lot of talent in the team, right? So
yeah,
it's funny because it's the same feeling I get when I hang out with some friends over dinner, and sometimes I look around the table. I'm like, look at everyone's skill set. They're all pretty successful. I'm like, I don't understand why we can't start a business, right? There's like absolutely no reason why. But then I figure out why. But because I always pull people to start. That's why I had all, early on before HTC, I had 3 different businesses that I was part of, because I was pulling people together. I was pulling talent together. That's what I did. But at the end of the day, you know what it is? It's having a common goal and vision. And I think that's why we're all tied to you, Kevin, right? Because we all share a very similar vision or goal, both independently and as a group. And that's really important. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if they're not on the same track of what those goals and visions are, it doesn't matter. So,
and I think, like, to piggyback on what you say, is just like one of the major goal in my life too. Like, it's cool to make myself grow and stuff like that, but I think the common goal, like, between me and all you guys is like, dude, I want you guys to win too. Like, I genuinely want you guys to win. Like, I will, like, when I was talking earlier with you, Tao, like, about your YouTube channel, I it's not just words. I actually do mean it.
Yeah. That's why you have all of our trust, and we are living up to our team's goals and stuff.
Yeah. Dude, we need like a cool name. I'm thinking high school wrestling style, and just be like, go Wildcats, but we don't have a really cool name. You know? But yeah, awesome.
That's all good. There's a lot of good people on this team.
Does your head get sweaty when you're
No,
bald?
it gets itchy. So look at this. Like it's really.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, my head doesn't really get sweaty. I don't actually really sweat that much. In general.
Should get a bald. Oh wait, you don't need one. A
Bald?
bald cap. Well, that would help with the itchiness. Yeah.
Maybe, perhaps. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.